Look, thank y'all for having me today, and thank y'all for putting y'all's trust in me in Baton Rouge. When I was elected in October of 2015, one of the first things I did, the Monday following the election, I drove to Baton Rouge and I started to try to understand what the state of Louisiana was going through, what it had been through, and why is it that we were stuck in this terrible rut. And it didn't take very long for me to figure it out, that it's Baton Rouge, that's where the problem is. And that's where it's at. But I'll tell you, one of the things that is really encouraging, and I know y'all may not feel it today, especially because I'm here, but you know, after we come out off of this veto session, a lot of people just feel like deflated, and they're just saying, Phillip, I just don't believe there's hope anymore. But I think we're dead wrong with that. I think a lot of the things that we're doing today in Baton Rouge has really never been done. You know, we have a supermajority of, we'll call them conservatives in the Senate, and we have 68 Republicans in the House. It takes a supermajority to do anything major in Louisiana, no matter which party affiliation you are. If you want to do more for government, which is fine if that's what you really and truthfully believe in, then you need a supermajority to do that. If you want to do more maybe for the business community, and maybe lower taxes or do things that are major on that end, it takes a supermajority to do that. And you know, when I was elected, and I've probably shared that with you guys many a times before, when I was running, you know, you hear so many things, what are you gonna do with those terrible people in Baton Rouge? When I got there, in the House for sure, I realized that 105 members in there all really care about the state of Louisiana, and that's why they ran. I can honestly sit here or stand here and tell you there's not one terrible person that ran for office or that's an elected office in the House. And what I can tell you more now today is that I've gotten to know those 105 members more and more. And every single one of them care greatly about Louisiana. The only real difference is what my vision is or what your vision is for the state, and maybe what their vision is for the state. And how do we come together to make Louisiana a better place? One of the things that I ran on and the things that I work on to this day is to try to bring more business to the state of Louisiana. And the biggest thing that I hear from business owners, and look, I own businesses, I know the struggles that we all face, is we have an education problem, we have an infrastructure problem, and we have a tax structure problem. That's the three things that I hear about the most. So, you know, when you go and you start learning about those things and trying to figure out how to change it, that's where it really and truthfully gets difficult. The thing that I worked on the most in my 6 years is our tax structure. And to tell you, when I was first elected, I was put on Ways and Means. It was certainly an eye-opening experience when you start looking at all the different tax bills and things of that nature and how taxes affect everyone, especially taxpayers. Trying to be as transparent as possible is to show you the bills that I filed this past session. And I would tell you, don't bore yourself with looking at all of them, but this was a regular session. It was a fiscal year, which means in every other year you can only bring 5 general bills. I brought 17 pieces of legislation. So you're like, Phillip, how many of those did you pass? 1. And I prayed that the governor wouldn't veto that. But the reality is, sometimes in Baton Rouge, we file bills just to get notes on them. So I'll file a bill to take away maybe, today we don't pay sales taxes on food, for home consumption, for utilities, or for prescription drugs. So I filed a bill to remove that exemption. It's like, why in the world would you do that? I did that just so we can talk to people and members about what part of the Stelly plan looks like. So years and years ago, they put forth this Stelly plan. It raised about $800 million for the state of Louisiana for government. And then another governor through the years removed half of it, which cost the state of Louisiana about $800 million. So I filed a bill to make the Stelly plan, the removal of it, whole. And if you think back, every 4 or so years, we have this cycle, right, of about $1 billion deficit. And it's coming down the pipe again very, very soon. And you'll say, well, Phillip, how is that the case? Well, right now we have a temporary 0.45 sales tax that rolls off in 2025. That 0.45 sales tax generates about $500 million. That's going away. Okay? That was kind of set up in place to bridge the gap, is what they called it. I didn't support it, but anyway, it's there. The other thing that's fixing to happen, whether we like it or not, was that when President Trump was in office, they did a federal tax plan. If y'all remember that, it wasn't very long ago. I remember it very well, because what it did was the federal government lowered your income taxes. So when they lowered the income taxes, people were paying less to the federal government. But Louisiana has, I think we're only one of maybe 2 states that still do this. We allow what's called the federal income tax deduction, right? So I got fussed at. We stole your money. We stole your money. In the state of Louisiana, we took all your money from the federal government. And it was funny, not really, but what happened was when you paid less to the federal government, you had to pay more to the state of Louisiana. It's just a simple seesaw effect. So if you were paying $100 to the federal government, you were able to deduct that $100 on your state taxes. So when the federal government reduced your taxes, say it went from 100 to 50, you went up from 0 to 100 on the state, just balanced the seesaw. When that happened, you gave the state of Louisiana almost $600 million. So all of a sudden, if y'all remember, a year or so ago, we had this huge surplus. It's one of the reasons that Maple Avenue is going to get funded, because I stuck some of that money and earmarked it for Maple Avenue, Highway 91. But anyway, what's going to happen in 2025 is the federal income tax law that was changed, it sunsets. So whether the federal government does nothing at all, that goes away. So if that goes away, the 0.45 rolls away, we immediately have a $1 billion deficit again. So you see that cycle will just continue. Now, many conservatives will say, well, Phillip, why don't y'all just curb spending? And I agree. But we brought a constitutional amendment last year to the vote of the people that curbs spending, and it failed. Which means the vote of the people of Louisiana said, no, we want to spend every penny we got. Think about that for a second. But anyway, so I filed 17 different bills. Some of them were local bills. I filed for some local companies about hauling dirt, divisible loads, and things of that nature. Those are the ones that I moved, I guess, most aggressively. The other ones were filed as placeholder bills to get fiscal notes to come out and explain to you how do we get in the situation we're in and where we're headed. Something that is extremely encouraging is some of the constitutional bills that you're going to see coming up in the fall. Everything that I wanted to do when it comes to tax reform, flies getting me, is really, really big, really fast, really aggressive. But when we sat down with the Department of Revenue, we sat down with the Senate, we sat down with the House, we sat down with a lot of business community group thinks, they came up with a really unique plan on how we can change Louisiana's tax policy. And something that is really, really good for business is the sales tax streamlining bill. Okay? So the sales tax streamlining bill, today in Louisiana we have 64 parishes, is that right? I think if you pay sales taxes, so if you're a business that pays sales taxes, you're going to pay basically about 54 to 56 if you do business in all the different parishes, returns. So it's really, really complicated in Louisiana. We're the only state that has all these different collectors. So whether it's school boards, sheriffs, police juries, a local sales tax collection, you have all these different collectors and all these different rates. So we brought a bill to form a commission that's going to be on the ballot. It's a streamlining bill that basically sets up a commission to promulgate rules on how we're going to start collecting sales taxes in the state of Louisiana. This is an extremely important bill, okay, because it's going to make our businesses be able to compete with a lot of internet companies. Today, if you're an internet company that sells, you don't have a brick and mortar in Louisiana, but you sell to people in Louisiana, you only pay a sales tax to one place, the Remote Dealer Sales Tax Commission. But if you're a brick and mortar in Louisiana and you collect the sales tax, you got to figure out what the rate is, and you got to send it to wherever that parish collector is. So these businesses have to have a team or a staff of people to compete with someone that isn't even in the state of Louisiana. So that bill really and truthfully puts our local brick and mortars on the same playing field as people who sell through the internet that aren't located in Louisiana. So it's a really, really important bill, and it brings everyone together. It brings the Sheriff's Association, the school boards, the police juries, the municipal, it brings Department of Revenue, the governor gets an appointment, the House and the Senate. You have 8 different people on this commission. If it passes, and then they're going to start promulgating the rules on audits and things of that nature. This may sound boring to y'all, but I'm telling you, this puts Louisiana in such a good position. And when you bring all these people to the same table, we can truthfully start working on our convoluted sales tax structure.